The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the distant glow of dying stars. On the edge of a remote system, a fleet of alien hunters moved silently, their ships sharp and black, like predatory birds circling a wounded animal. They had been tracking a faint signal for days, confident it would lead them to easy prey. They were wrong. Inside the lead ship, Commander Virus stared at the navigation screen, his many eyes narrowing. "The signal is weak," he hissed. "But it carries the unmistakable signature of the human vessel. It cannot be far." His crew, a mix of reptilian and insectoid soldiers, hissed in excitement. They had heard legends of human ships, weapons so powerful that entire fleets disappeared without a trace. But these stories were old, almost mythical. They thought it was finally their chance to prove themselves. Aboard a smaller scouting vessel, hidden behind an asteroid belt, the human watched. The ship was ancient, scarred with battle marks, yet it moved with a quiet confidence. From inside, a figure sat at the controls, calm, eating something that smelled far too ordinary for someone about to face a galaxy of hunters. The humans had a saying, "Hunters always underestimate the prey that smiles." And this human smiled. The first shot came without warning. The alien fleet assumed they could corner the ship easily. Their weapons glowed with lethal energy as they opened fire. Explosions rocked the void, lighting up the darkness like deadly fireworks. But the human vessel did not dodge. It did not panic. It simply continued forward, its shields absorbing every hit with quiet hums of energy. Inside, the human crunching on a simple protein bar barely flinched. "Hungry," he muttered to himself, tearing off another piece. "Might as well enjoy the moment." The alien commanders blinked in disbelief. Their scanners showed weapon after weapon failing to penetrate the human shields. Panic began to ripple through the fleet. Virus gritted his teeth. "Concentrate fire. Focus on the engines. Do not let it escape." The human vessel, almost lazily, began to accelerate. Not in a frantic escape, but in a calculated, almost playful maneuver. The ship twisted and spun, leading the hunters on a deadly dance through asteroids, debris fields, and gravity wells. Each move was precise, each turn calculated to bring maximum chaos. One by one, the alien ships began to falter. Collisions with asteroids, misfires from their own weapons, and the overwhelming power of the human shields tore the fleet apart. Yet the human seemed barely aware of it, finishing the protein bar and licking his fingers, a small smirk on his face. "Impossible," hissed Virus. "We should be crushing it. Every weapon, every strategy we know. Useless." Behind him, his officers were panicking, arguing, blaming each other. But the human didn't care. Humans were always underestimated, and that was their advantage. While the galaxy feared them, humans relied on simplicity, on understanding physics and timing in ways no other species could predict. Then, the human activated something new. A low hum vibrated through the hull of his ship. The stars themselves seemed to dim, and the alien scanners began to fail. The human weapon did not fire. It did not need to. The mere presence of the technology, the centuries of forgotten war secrets, was enough to make the hunters stop in fear. Virus's eyes widened as his systems screamed failure. His crew scattered, desperate to survive, but it was already too late. One by one, the alien ships erupted into fire, each explosion casting eerie shadows across the human vessel. And yet, the human kept moving forward, calm, unstoppable. The silence that followed was deafening. In the emptiness of space, only the human ship moved, like a predator who had just feasted and still desired more. The message was clear: Earth's humans were not to be trifled with. They were not merely survivors, they were hunters, engineers of fear itself. On the bridge of the human ship, the figure finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Hungry," he said again, glancing at the remains of the alien fleet. "Time for dinner." And with that, the ship turned toward the next signal, moving with purpose, ready to hunt again. Somewhere in the galaxy, countless civilizations would soon realize that a human was no ordinary opponent. They were apex predators in a universe that had long forgotten their power. The hunters had smelled blood. The human had smiled. And now, the galaxy would remember the warning. Never underestimate what is underestimated. The human ship glided through the dark void, leaving the smoking remains of the alien fleet behind. Stars reflected off its sleek hull, but there was no hurry, no panic. It moved like a predator choosing its next target, every calculation precise, every decision deliberate. Inside, the human cracked open another protein bar, chewing slowly, almost lazily. "They never learn," he muttered, his eyes scanning the sensors for the next signal. Each blip on the screen represented an unsuspecting vessel, another opportunity to test the limits of fear. Light years away, the news of the destroyed fleet had reached the central systems of the Hunter's empire. Panic surged through the ranks. "They are monsters," one officer hissed. "They are not just humans, they are weapons." Back in space, the human approached a small mining colony on the outskirts of a quiet star system. The scanners showed faint energy readings, civilian ships, unaware of the carnage that had occurred nearby. Most species would hesitate, would flee. Humans did not. The human ship slowed, and with a quiet hum, a small craft detached from the main vessel, sliding silently toward the colony. Inside the colony control room, alarms rang. "Unknown ship approaching," a technician shouted. But before anyone could panic, a calm, measured voice echoed through the station's comm system. "Do not move. Do not resist. You will not be harmed if you obey." The colonists froze, fear gripping them, yet they were curious. The voice, so calm, so certain, carried authority, yet no threat of unnecessary violence. Slowly, they followed instructions, and the human's small craft landed near the main control hub. A hatch opened, and the figure stepped out. He was ordinary in appearance, nothing like the terrifying tales the galaxy whispered. But the calm aura he carried, the confidence, the silence that demanded attention, it was enough to freeze even the bravest hearts. He spoke again. "Your colony is in danger. The hunters you saw, they will return. You need guidance, protection. I will help you." The colonists stared, unsure whether to trust him. But before they could respond, the sensors picked up something moving in the shadows. Alien scouts, faster than the human fleet had tracked before, were approaching. The human did not panic. He smiled. "Good," he said softly. "I was getting bored." In the blink of an eye, the human moved. He tapped commands into a console, and the colony's defensive systems, previously dormant, flared to life. Energy shields hummed, automated turrets spun, and the very ground vibrated with power. But it was not just technology, it was strategy, centuries of knowledge embedded in one human mind. The alien scouts arrived, sleek and dangerous, expecting to overwhelm the small colony. But the human anticipated every move. Missiles were deflected, ships caught in energy nets, engines overloaded. Within moments, the hunters were forced to retreat, confused and terrified. The colonists whispered among themselves. "Who? What is he?" The human simply smiled again. "Humans survive. Humans fight. Humans win. Remember that." After the aliens vanished, he turned back to the colony. "You will need more than walls and shields. You need training, awareness, and courage. I will teach you." As he spoke, the sensors on his ship picked up a larger movement. Another fleet, this one more advanced, more coordinated, more dangerous, was approaching the system. Yet, for the human, it was not a threat. It was a challenge. The humans of old had been underestimated for centuries, dismissed as weak or primitive. But this one, this lone human, carried the weight of generations, secrets of technology, and strategies that no alien had ever faced. And he thrived in chaos, smiling while the universe scrambled around him. He turned to the colonists once more. "Prepare yourselves. Tonight, you will see the true strength of humanity. But remember, you survive, you adapt, you fight. Do not rely on anyone else. Only on yourselves, and me for now." The fleet approached, a massive wall of ships glinting under distant starlight. Communication channels were filled with threats and warnings, but the human ignored them. He adjusted his ship, a calm focus in his eyes. Then, without a word, he accelerated. The fleet reacted, expecting evasive maneuvers, expecting panic. But the human moved in patterns that no simulation could predict, weaving through space with deadly elegance. Weapons were fired, but they missed. Shields held. And in the midst of chaos, a single volley from his ship cut through the enemy lines, crippling their formation instantly. The colonists watched, wide-eyed, as the alien ships broke apart one by one. And through it all, the human continued to eat his protein bar, calm, methodical, almost bored. Finally, the silence returned. The human landed back at the colony, dust settling, stars shimmering. He looked at the colonists and said simply, "They underestimated us. They always do. But now, they will remember." For the first time, the colonists understood. Humanity was not just another species in the galaxy. Humans were hunters, warriors, apex predators in a universe that had forgotten them. And this one human was only the beginning. The galaxy had smelled blood. Humanity had smiled. And the hunt had only begun. The human ship hovered silently above the colony, its hull reflecting the pale light of distant suns. Around it, space seemed almost alive, trembling under the echo of destruction left behind. The alien fleets that had dared to challenge him were gone, scattered into wreckage and smoke. Yet, the human's eyes scanned the void, searching for the next sign, the next challenge. Inside the colony, the colonists were in awe. They whispered among themselves, afraid to speak too loudly, for fear of breaking the strange calm that the human exuded. He moved among them like a shadow, simple movements, but every gesture commanded respect. "Training begins," he said simply, setting down another protein bar. "You will learn to survive. You will learn to fight. You will learn to think like humans who do not fear death." A group of young recruits gathered around, eager yet nervous. "Sir," one asked, "how do you always know what the enemy will do?" The human looked at him, eyes steady, almost bored. "I don't guess. I calculate. I watch. I predict. That is how humans survive. We study patterns. We understand behavior. Others rely on weapons. We rely on understanding." Outside, sensors flickered. A new fleet had entered the system, faster, more coordinated, and more dangerous than the last. The human's lips curved into a small smile. "They never stop coming," he muttered. "Good. I was getting bored." The colonists watched as he moved back to his ship. With calm precision, he activated the external defense grids, turning the colony into a fortress in minutes. Energy barriers shimmered, automated turrets aligned with deadly precision, and holographic decoys flickered across the void. Every move was deliberate, calculated to confuse and terrify the enemy before they even attacked. The alien commanders approached, confident this time. They had heard of the humans' victories, but arrogance ran deep. "This time, we crush them," they communicated among themselves, their voice filled with certainty. The human watched the fleet close in, sensors tracking every movement, calculating trajectories, and identifying weak points. His ship, small compared to the massive enemy vessels, seemed almost insignificant. Yet, every alien weapon fired at him was neutralized before it even left their ship. Missiles were shredded, energy beams diverted, shields adapted instantly. Then, the human acted. His ship twisted through space with impossible speed, moving in ways no alien had predicted. He struck at multiple ships at once, not destroying them immediately, but disabling them, sowing chaos in their ranks. One by one, the fleet began to fracture, panic spreading faster than their weapons could fire. Inside the human ship, he ate another bar, calm as ever. "Patience," he said softly. "Fear is the weapon I wield best." The aliens did not understand. Fear was foreign to them. Their species relied on overwhelming power, not strategy or psychology. And yet, as they watched their comrades crippled, their confidence shattered. Their screams filled the void, though no one could hear them. The fear radiated through space, reaching the minds of even those not present. On the colony, the human landed briefly, demonstrating how to manage the defenses. "Observe," he instructed. "Humans fight smarter, not harder. We control the battlefield before the battle even begins." He pointed to the sensors tracking alien movements. "They think they are hunters. They are not. They are prey who refuse to admit it." Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The human orchestrated every maneuver, guiding the colonists, disabling enemy ships, and maintaining calm. Every attack was met with precise countermeasures. Every threat dissolved before it could fully manifest. Finally, the alien commanders, battered and humiliated, retreated. The fleet, once confident and terrifying, now limped away, leaving behind wreckage and shattered pride. The human turned to the colonists. "They will return," he said simply. "The galaxy is full of hunters. They will always come. But now you know what it means to survive. To fight. To think beyond the obvious." The colonists looked at him, eyes wide, hearts pounding. What are you?" one whispered. The human smiled, a small, knowing curve of his lips. "I am human. And this is what humans do." He stepped back onto his ship, preparing to leave. The colony had been saved, but the hunt was far from over. Somewhere in the darkness of space, other fleets would hear the stories of this single human, a predator in a universe that had long forgotten what fear truly was. The galaxy had seen only a glimpse of his power. But that glimpse was enough to change everything. Humans were not just fighters. They were hunters. Apex predators. Masters of survival. And this one human had just begun. As the human ship slipped into the dark void, the colonists watched, a mix of awe and terror filling their hearts. The stars seemed brighter, and yet darker, as if the universe itself had recognized the presence of a being it could not ignore. And somewhere, in distant systems, alien commanders whispered warnings, trembling at the realization that humans were not to be underestimated. The hunt had begun. The human ship moved silently through the shadowed expanse of space, leaving behind the trembling colonists and the shattered alien fleet. Stars flashed past like distant fireflies, yet the human seemed entirely unconcerned, scanning the void with quiet intensity. His eyes, sharp and calculating, caught every anomaly, every blip, every potential threat long before it became real. A new signal appeared on the sensors, faint but distinct. It was not a single ship this time, it was a fleet. Larger, faster, better coordinated. The galaxy was sending its best, convinced that this time, the human would finally fall. But he didn't flinch. He smiled. "Finally," he said softly. "Something worth my time." Inside his ship, the control room buzzed with quiet energy. Panels lit up with data, streams of calculations, and tactical simulations. But the human wasn't overwhelmed. He absorbed it all with a calm, almost bored efficiency. Each calculation led to a single truth. He could control the battlefield before the enemy even knew it existed. The approaching fleet detected him and fired first. Energy beams lanced through space, missiles streaking like deadly comets. But the human ship did not dodge. Instead, it rotated, revealing previously hidden weapon systems. They were ancient, alien in design, technology salvaged, improved, and perfected. Each weapon activated with a whisper, precise and deadly. Missiles intercepted missiles. Energy beams were absorbed, then reflected back at the enemy with terrifying efficiency. Entire ships exploded before their crews even understood what had happened. The human moved like a conductor orchestrating symphony of destruction, each maneuver calculated to maximize fear and chaos. Meanwhile, back at the colony, the colonists watched from the view screens. They had trained under him, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. The human did not simply fight, he dominated. The aliens were confused, terrified, and utterly unprepared for the level of strategy, cunning, and raw power before them. He activated another layer of defense, cloaking decoys, holographic illusions, and gravitational distortions that bent the enemy's sensors. Entire ships were tricked into colliding with one another, destroyed by their own miscalculations. Panic rippled through the enemy fleet. Their confidence shattered. One alien commander shouted through communication channels, disbelief and rage cracking his voice. "Impossible! They cannot. How?" The human listened calmly. Then he spoke, his voice transmitted clearly across the void, cold and unnerving. "You assume your strength is enough. It is not. You never learn. Fear me, or perish. The choice is yours." The fleet faltered. Another volley of the human's weapons struck, crippling key command ships. Alien coordination collapsed. In minutes, the fleet that had believed itself invincible was reduced to wreckage and fleeing survivors. And still, the human did not celebrate. He consumed another protein bar, leisurely, calmly, as if he were enjoying a quiet meal after a long walk, not orchestrating mass destruction. "They never understand," he muttered. "Strength alone does not win battles. Understanding, strategy, patience, that wins." Sensors picked up distress signals from nearby systems. More alien vessels were coming, faster this time, more aggressive. The human's eyes narrowed, not in fear, but with anticipation. He adjusted his ship, preparing new layers of traps and defenses, ready to turn chaos into advantage. Back at the colony, he gave a single command. "Prepare for them. Remember everything I have taught you. Your survival depends on thinking, not just weapons. Understand your enemy, and you will survive. Doubt, hesitation, or fear will kill you faster than their guns." The approaching fleet hesitated at the edge of the system, scanning, unsure. They had heard stories of one human ship defeating entire fleets, but they could not comprehend the scale of his abilities. The unknown, the unexpected, the unpredictable, these were the human's greatest weapons. And in the void, the human waited, calm, confident, smiling. Every move, every calculation, every silent decision was a trap, a puzzle, a test of fear. Those who underestimated him paid with destruction. Those who hesitated became his prey. Somewhere, deep in the galaxy, the whispers began. Other fleets, other commanders, others who believed themselves powerful, they all would hear the story. A single human, a predator in the void, capable of things no other species could understand. The galaxy had begun to realize a dangerous truth: humans were not just fighters. Humans were apex predators. Masters of strategy, masters of fear, masters of survival. And this one human had only revealed a fraction of what was possible. The hunt had only grown more dangerous, more thrilling. And the human was ready. The void stretched endlessly, silent but full of unseen tension. The human ship moved like a shadow among the stars, unhurried, calculating. Every sensor beep, every flicker on the screens, every distant flash of light was noticed, recorded, and analyzed. His mind worked faster than any alien could imagine, weaving strategies before the enemy even thought to attack. Nearby systems trembled at the presence of his ship. Word had spread through the galaxy, whispers of a human who had destroyed entire fleets alone, whose tactics were unpredictable, whose weapons seemed alive. The stories were growing faster than reality, instilling fear before any engagement had even begun. Another fleet appeared on the horizon, larger than any before. Their hulls gleamed with technology meant to intimidate, to overwhelm, to ensure victory. But the human did not flinch. He observed, noting the formations, the speed, the weaknesses. "Confidence," he muttered, "always the enemy's weakness." He moved closer, but slowly, almost casually. The aliens expected evasive maneuvers, expected panic, expected chaos. Instead, they received precision. Sensors began to fail as his ship activated hidden jammers, distorting readings, creating phantom ships. Their fleet fired blindly, striking nothing, colliding with illusions of their own creation. Inside the ship, he studied the enemy's behavior. Every decision they made was predictable when you understood fear, hesitation, and arrogance. "They think they are smart," he said, "but they never think enough. The human activated another hidden system. Energy pulses radiated outward, manipulating gravity subtly, causing alien ships to drift off course. Missiles spiraled uselessly. Lasers reflected unpredictably. Within minutes, chaos consumed the alien formation. He did not celebrate. He was focused, methodical, calm. Every move was about teaching the universe a lesson it had long forgotten. Humans were apex predators. The colonists, watching from the safety of the colony, trembled with awe. "How can one man do all this?" one whispered. Another replied, "It's not just him. It's humanity. They fight like nothing else in the galaxy." The human allowed a small smile to form. He could feel their fear, confusion, and disbelief. "Good," he murmured. "Fear is the tool I use best. Understanding comes next." He made a quick calculation, then struck. Hidden weapons activated, silent, precise, devastating. Entire command ships of the alien fleet erupted, sending shockwaves across space. Panic spread instantly, communication broke down, coordination vanished. They tried to retreat, but his ship moved faster, predicting every move, cutting off escape routes, trapping them in a deadly net. He spoke over the alien channels, voice cold, calm, and terrifying. "You underestimate us. You always do. Fear, confusion, hesitation, these are your enemies. Not us. Not yet. But they will consume you if you cannot survive." The alien fleet's morale shattered. Ships collided, engines overloaded, systems failed. The human was everywhere and nowhere at once, striking with calculated precision. Each alien commander realized the impossible. Their strength, their numbers, their technology, none of it mattered. In the colony, the colonists took notes, absorbing every move, every lesson. He had not just protected them, he had taught them to survive, to think like a human, to anticipate, to calculate, to dominate. Finally, the surviving alien ships retreated, limping away, battered, terrified, and humiliated. Across the galaxy, the reports would spread. One human ship, one human, had decimated their strongest fleet. Whispers of fear and respect would follow. The human returned to the colony, calm, collected. He looked at the colonists and said simply, "They will come again. They always do. But now you know, humanity is not just strong. We are unstoppable when we act together, when we think beyond fear." He paused, taking another bite of his protein bar, a small, quiet smile on his face. "The galaxy is learning," he said. "And the lesson is clear. Never underestimate a human. Never assume you can outthink us. We survive. We fight. We win." Somewhere, deep in space, alien fleets plotted, whispered, and feared. The legend of one human, a predator in the void, had grown. But they did not yet understand the full power of humanity, the cunning, the patience, the strategy. That would come, in time. The human's eyes scanned the stars, calm and patient. There would always be another hunter. There would always be another challenge. And he would be ready. Because this was not just about survival. This was the hunt. The galaxy had learned a truth it could not ignore. Humans were not to be underestimated. And this one human had shown them exactly why. The human ship moved through the void like a ghost, silent yet unstoppable. The remains of the alien fleets hung in scattered silence, but the human's attention was already elsewhere. Sensors detected movement far beyond the immediate system. Ships converging, faster than any previous fleet, more coordinated, more dangerous. The galaxy was sending its finest, convinced this time, the human would finally fail. But he did not worry. He had prepared, always prepared. Every ship, every weapon, every fleet the galaxy sent, had unknowingly trained him to become sharper, faster, deadlier. And this fleet would learn the same lesson. Inside the ship, the control room glowed with data streams, showing every trajectory, every potential strike, every weakness in the enemy formation. Yet, the human remained calm, almost bored, cracking open a protein bar. "They never learn," he muttered. "And they never will." The alien fleet detected him and fired simultaneously. Beams lanced through space, missiles streaked like fiery comets. The human did not dodge. Instead, he activated the hidden systems of his ship. Ancient human weapons, long thought lost to time, technology salvaged, improved, perfected. Energy fields expanded, absorbing and redirecting attacks. Missiles were shredded mid-flight. Ships attempting to close the distance found themselves trapped by invisible gravitational distortions. Every weapon fired against him returned as chaos, destroying formations, crippling engines, and inciting panic among the alien ranks. He moved with perfect timing, striking key command vessels first, dismantling coordination in minutes. Entire fleets collapsed before realizing what had happened. He was everywhere and nowhere at once, a predator hunting methodically, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Back at the colony, the colonists observed, wide-eyed, struggling to understand. "It's impossible," one whispered. "No one can do this alone." The human smiled faintly. "Humans survive," he said. "Humans fight. Humans think. That is why we win." Then he activated another layer of his ship's capabilities: cloaked strike pods, silent energy torpedoes, and automated AI-driven drones. These weapons were subtle, invisible, unpredictable. They struck at alien hulls, disabling weapons, cutting engines, and isolating key ships. Chaos consumed the enemy. The alien commanders tried to rally, attempting coordinated attacks, but every move was anticipated. The human had already mapped their patterns, predicted reactions, exploited weaknesses. Fear spread faster than lasers ever could. Panic became the enemy's weapon, and the human wielded it expertly. He spoke over their channels, voice calm, unnerving, cold. "You believe your strength matters. It does not. You rely on weapons. We rely on thought, strategy, and fear. And you will fall." By the time the first alien ships realized their errors, it was too late. Entire command vessels were destroyed. Others fled in disarray, engines failing, formations collapsing. The human ship moved through the chaos like a surgeon through flesh, precise, efficient, deadly. The colonists, now fully aware of the human's capabilities, trained alongside him, absorbing lessons in anticipation, tactics, and survival. They began to understand that strength alone could not protect them. It was intelligence, foresight, and calm calculation that made humans the apex predators of the galaxy. Finally, the fleet, once confident and threatening, limped away, defeated, humiliated, terrified. Reports would spread across the systems. One human, alone, had destroyed fleets thought unbeatable. Fear of humans, long dormant, awakened across the galaxy. The human returned to the colony, calm, collected. "They will return," he said simply. "They always do. But each time, you will grow stronger. You will survive. You will fight. And perhaps, one day, you will be the hunters, not just the hunted." He paused, finishing his protein bar, eyes scanning the stars. "The galaxy is learning. Slowly. But we are patient. Humans have always been patient. And when the time comes, they will regret ever underestimating us." Somewhere in distant systems, fleets prepared for another encounter, whispers spreading fear and respect. The legend of one human, a predator in the void, had grown beyond imagination. And yet, even this was only a fraction of what humans could unleash. The hunt continued. The galaxy had begun to understand a harsh truth: humans were apex predators, masters of strategy, masters of fear, unstoppable when they acted together. And this one human had just shown the universe why. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but the human's path was clear. The hunt was far from over. The void of space was alive with tension. Across the systems, fleets moved, drawn by the rumors of a single human who had shattered empires and destroyed fleets with precision and ease. Ships bristled with weapons, commanders whispered strategies meant to overwhelm, to trap, to finally end the human's reign. But the human did not panic. He hovered in the darkness, sensors scanning, calculations racing through his mind. Every fleet, every weapon, every tactic sent his way had already been anticipated. He smiled faintly, almost bored, cracking open a protein bar. "They think they can stop me," he murmured. "How amusing." The approaching fleets were massive, the largest humanity, or any species, had faced. Commanders coordinated, believing sheer numbers and firepower would crush the lone human. But this was their first mistake. The human activated his ship's full systems. Energy shields shimmered with a brilliance that reflected hundreds of attacks. Cloaking decoys danced across the void, creating phantom fleets, misleading enemy sensors. Gravity fields twisted trajectories, pulling ships into collisions and chaos. Hidden drones struck silently, disabling engines and weapons before the aliens could react. Every move, every attack, every defense was flawless. The human was not merely surviving, he was controlling the battlefield entirely. He struck strategically, targeting command vessels first, breaking coordination, spreading panic, and exploiting fear. Inside the human ship, he calculated every step, every angle. "Patience," he muttered. "Chaos is a weapon. Fear is a tool. And humans, we are masters of both." The alien fleets fired relentlessly, beams and missiles converging on his ship. But every attack was neutralized, redirected, or made to destroy their own ranks. Within minutes, entire squadrons were destroyed, their confidence replaced with terror. The galaxy had never seen strategy and firepower combined so perfectly. Across the systems, colonists and allied humans watched through sensors, hearts pounding. They had trained, prepared, and feared the approaching battle. But the human led them, teaching, guiding, showing that survival depended not on numbers or brute force, but on cunning, understanding, and precision. The alien commanders realized too late. Their fleets, superior in size and technology, were collapsing. Ships collided, engines failed, weapons overloaded. Fear spread faster than any laser, faster than any missile. It consumed them. The human activated his final weapon systems, ancient technology, perfected over centuries, dormant and almost mythical. Waves of energy cascaded across the void, disabling fleet after fleet. His attacks were not mindless destruction, they were surgical strikes, eliminating threats while leaving no opportunity for recovery. He spoke over the enemy channels, voice calm and unnerving. "You have underestimated humans for centuries. You will learn today. Fear us. Respect us. But most importantly, survive if you can." The alien fleets crumbled. Their most advanced ships destroyed, their commanders humiliated, morale shattered. The galaxy would remember this day, not as a battle, but as a warning. One human, armed with strategy, patience, and intelligence, had toppled empires. Back at the colony, the human landed, walking among his people. "The hunt is never over," he said. "There will always be another fleet. Another challenge. But now you know the truth. Humans survive. Humans dominate. Humans do not fear." He looked at the stars, calm, confident, powerful. "And those who underestimate us, they will pay." In distant systems, whispers turned to fear. The legend of humanity spread faster than any fleet could travel. Stories of one human, a predator in the void, capable of unimaginable destruction, inspired terror. The galaxy had learned a vital truth: humans were apex predators. Masters of war. Masters of survival. And they were not to be trifled with. The human returned to his ship, eyes scanning the infinite darkness ahead. There would always be threats, always enemies, always hunters. But he was ready. Humanity was ready. The galaxy had smelled blood, and humanity had smiled. This was not the end. This was only the beginning. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, yet the human's path was clear. Apex predators do not wait. They hunt. And the hunt had just begun.